Hello, friends. Thanks again for joining me on Extraordinary Connection, a daily devotion website put on by the people of the United Methodist Church in Michigan. This week, I stumbled onto the story of Father Gregory Boyle. Some of you might already know who he is, but I really first learned of him by listening to Alan Alda's podcast, Clear and Vivid. Father Gregory was the kind of speaker whose story I found mesmerizing, the kind where you just can't stop listening. He had all these personal anecdotes and humorous vignettes, and then all of a sudden, wham, he'd hit you with a powerful one-liner of truth that would pierce your heart. If you've never heard him speak, find that episode of the podcast, Clear and Vivid. Father Gregory also did a TED Talk a few years back, and he's a regular video blogger on the YouTube page Homeboy Industries. And he's also written a couple books, if that's your preferred way to hear his story. Father Gregory is a Jesuit priest whose first parish was at Dolores Mission Church. The Dolores Mission Church is in Boyle Heights neighborhood of East Los Angeles and was at the time, and it might still be, the parish church for the poorest part of Los Angeles. Boyle Heights has two very large housing projects nearby and had 8 active gangs in the community, which were perpetually at war with each other. And it was to the gangs that Father Gregory really started his mission, finding ways to connect with them, finding ways to support the gang members, and specifically those that no longer wanted to be in gangs. So he started a program called Homeboy Industries. Homeboy Industries started as a bakery in 1992, but expanded to include other work placement programs for those recently out of prison or wanting to leave a gang behind. And those work placement services expanded to counseling services, legal services, tattoo removal, education programs, and more. And as a side note, Homeboy Industries does more tattoo removals than any other place in the United States. They removed 43,000 tattoos in 2018 alone. Homeboy Industries does whatever they can to provide life skill and job skills to everyone that walks in the door. And they are the largest gang intervention and rehabilitation center in the country. And as central as the gang rehabilitation was to the start of the mission, I don't think that's the vision of Father Gregory any longer. Rehabilitation is merely a byproduct or a tool to reach his true goal, which is for people to live in kinship, in community, for people to see their worth and see the worth of people around them too. On his interview with Alan Alda, Father Gregory said that gang members often are planning their own funeral instead of dreaming about their future. Their whole lives they've been told they are worthless if they're even spoken to at all. So by joining a gang, they're really doing a kind of a slow suicide. The program Homeboy Industries helps them see that they have worth, that they have purpose, that they have a divine spark in them that is cherished and loved by our Creator. But also to help each person that walks through the doors see the worth of the people near them. In these rehabilitation programs, former gang members are often placed in the same support group or vocational training space as enemy gang members. Men and women who used to shoot bullets at each other are forced to work side by side for a common purpose and goal. And in being close together, old wounds heal. Old misunderstandings are buried. Forgiveness and healing is birthed. And kinship, relationship, and community is formed. It was Father Gregory's quote on that interview that got me interested in his story. He said, "Human beings can't demonize people they know." And I think that's true. It's easy for us to demonize a group, a gender, an ethnicity, a socioeconomic class, a political affiliation, a culture, a nationality, a religious group, whatever you want, if we don't know them. It's easy to assume all kinds of stereotypes about people we don't know. We can assume that they're lazy or cruel or greedy. We can interject motivations to people we don't know. And we can easily villainize the other, especially if we've never met them. But that's not what we're called to do. As disciples of Christ, that's not the people we are called to be. We are called to see the Christ inside each person. We are called to find ways to be in unity with each other, in that kinship that Father Gregory is working so hard to foster in California. In John 17:22 through 23, it records Jesus praying. And these two verses specifically say, I have given them the glory that you gave me, that they may be one as we are one. I in them, you in me, so that they may be brought to complete unity. Then the world will know that you sent me and have loved them even as you loved me. To find unity, live in harmony with our fellow humans, and see Christ in the other person, we need to stop demonizing the other, however you want to label or group the other. And we do it by being in relationship with each other. I think that's one of the hardest things about COVID has been the isolation. Not just because it leaves us feeling lonely, but it also stops us from being in regular relationship with each other, with those that sit on the other side of the political fence than us. We're not sharing the same pew anymore. With those that act or believe differently than we do, we're not seeing them at the local restaurant. And when we aren't in relationship, we forget those things that we do hold in common. When we can't see our neighbor regularly, we struggle to see Christ inside them. My prayer for you and for myself is that we keep looking for ways to grow together, that we keep struggling to see the Christ inside of everyone we see, even the other. As United Methodists, one of the pledges we make when we become members of the church is to resist evil in all forms. Demonizing people we don't know, not looking for Christ in the stranger and people who think differently than we do, it goes against that promise. So may we be ever vigilant in seeing the best in each other so that we can be in relationship with all. I'd like to close with a quote from Father Gregory. He said, our goal should be to achieve a certain kind of compassion that stands in awe for the burdens others have to carry, instead of judgment of how they carry it. May each of us learn that compassion too, so that we can learn to live in community. And like Jesus' prayer says, then the world will know that God sent Jesus and that he loves them. Until next time, I will see you at extraordinaryconnection.org.